It was a normal day in Cantaloupe City, and it was a summer break from Cantaloupe High School. And in Timber's browse, he was waiting at the park for his girlfriend Twilight. They have been dating for about a year, and he has been looking forward to this day all year since this was their 1 year anniversary. And he has something special planned for them. When he saw that she showed up, he hugged her and kissed her cheek instead that he missed her. Asked if she was ready. She said yes. So they went to a small spot in the park to have a picnic to celebrate. But she was a little bit quiet than normally she is. So Timber asked her if something was wrong, but she said nothing was wrong. She just had been tired lately. She has just been reading a lot of books, so that would make sense to him, since even that she has a summer break or winter holiday break, she always do some studies or at least reading. So always keep sharp on any sort of school subject. But this time, he tried to make her focus on something else. This was going to be their first year's anniversary, and the picnic was just one part of the special. Since there's going to be a fair in town, so he decided to take her to go there. And of course, they both have been excited about this for about past 2 months, but they found out it's going to be a fair on this particular holiday, or at least their anniversary. So they decided to go there on 4 p.m. when it was starting open. When Timber came out to her home, picked her up, she was beautiful. She was having a blue dress, and he was wearing a suit, almost kind. But she was even quiet in the whole ride to the fair. And once again, he asked her if something was wrong, but she said just nothing was wrong. So he didn't pay much attention. But even at the fair, he tried to cheer her up with some games, and he actually managed to win a teddy bear for her. She thanked him, but still, even the smile she gave him didn't felt like those real romantic ones. It felt like an empty feeling. It was like emotionless. So he decided maybe try to something do more romantic. He took her through a love tunnel for a ride, but even there, it was nothing in any sort of spark. Then he took her to later at before the end of the fair was closing. He took her to Ferris wheel, but when it stopped at the top, it had a great view over town. But then he tried to hold her hand, but then he tried to kiss her, but she avoided the kiss. And he thought maybe he has some bad breath or something, but it wasn't that. But then he asked her, Twilight, is there something wrong? You have been like avoiding me all day. Please, you can tell me anything if there's something wrong. But there was nothing that she could say. Except, I want to break up. That surprised him. And even on the way to the car, he was silent. And even inside the car, it was silent for a moment. When they first arrived at the first red light, he turned around to her and asked, Twilight, what do you mean you want to break up with me? Have I done something wrong? Said something wrong? Behaved actually differently? But she said no. She said that he has been the most amazing guy that she has ever been with. But it's that her feelings towards someone else had starting to rise. And she even said that she has this conflict in her heart if she would stay with him or try to be with the other guy. And then he asked her, who is this other guy? Do I know him? And Twana said yes, that he did. And it turns out to be Flash Sentry. Wait, have you fallen in love with Flash? And how long had this been going on? Ever since before school start ended? So 2 weeks? So you have been in love with him for 2 weeks, but have you even told him about this? And she shook her head and said no. So the rest of the way on the ride to her home, Timber Sprouse was devastated. He had no idea what to do, what to say. Twilight. So this is official, or is there any way we can try once again to be make this work? I mean, I am willing to do anything to make it work. But she said no. Even though she has a great time at the fair, but even tried to force him, try to make this their relationship work. But she sat down and said, alright, we can try to make it work. So, for the next couple of days, they went to the movies or just hang out at the park, just having something to try to work it out. But each single time they met, Twilight's feelings toward Timber Sprouse were getting smaller and smaller, and her feelings towards Flash was getting stronger and stronger. And now it was almost certainly they were finished. So the same night when he dropped her off back home, Timber didn't feel to do anything. His sister wasn't home for about that week, so he hasn't even told her about this. So he decided to call up Flash. Flash was still unaware about this breakup, or at least supposed to be happening. So when he told Flash about this, he was like, wait, seriously? She is in love with me, but she doesn't want to be with you? But you have been together for about a year. I thought this was going to be well between you two. And even I had moved on. I don't even have any feelings towards Flight at all. Well, I don't know what to say, Flash. What can I do? I tried everything. I tried to be more nice to her, tried to be more romantic towards her, even let her decide what to do, but nothing, everything else I try and every single thing I try, it always fails, end up with a failure. I decide maybe it is that maybe they weren't meant to be with us. I'm sorry to hear that, Timber. I'm sorry. Thanks, Flash. I appreciate it. Talk to you later. Yeah, bye. And then suddenly the next day, when Timber was meeting some of his old friends, Rarity, Rainbow, and even Applejack at the Sugar Cup Cafe, they saw that he was there when they arrived. So they sit down, they start talking, and even they were completely unaware about the supposed breakup. Because before he got there, Twilight sent a text message and said, I'm sorry, but it's over between us. And that was it. So, he didn't supposed to be telling this at first, he thought. But since they are his friends, and they are also best friends to Twilight, so he asked them if they have been talking to Twilight lately. Like, just any random chance or at moment. But most of them said no, except for Applejack, who said that she actually talked to Twilight, but that was only a day ago. And then he asked if they talked about something special or just curious. But they didn't talk much about any particular special, just random things. But then he dropped the bomb. Wait, Applejack? Did you even know about this? Rarity asked. Me? About this breakup? No, I didn't. Wait, she actually break up with you after being together for about a year? But for what? For Flash. Wait, she is in love with Flash? That's right. So, So I guess it is over between me and Twilight. I thought maybe it was going to be better. But Timber, try to make it better. Try to do something special for her. No, it's worthless. Hey, Shuruku, you should try to make it work. No, but why? I tried. I tried to do anything special for her. Cook her some special dinner, even give her some special gifts, like necklace, or even try to take her to the astronomy, observatorium, or even do some stargazing with her. But nothing seems to work. All my attempts have been failed. So it is official. Twilight and I are no longer together. And even Flash knows about this, but he doesn't have any feelings towards her at all. Well, that makes sense though, said Rarity. What do you mean? Well, I'm not just saying this, but I know that Flash is dating someone else. Who? Sans Shimmer, said Dumbledore. Wait, since when? But a week before the end of the summer break? Wow. And he didn't tell me that no one talked unless it's a few days ago. After they talked more at the cafe, Timber decided to just leave. He decided to take a break and just take a walk through town and to clear his mind up. Even Timber's brows were still very heartbroken. He wanted to be with Twilight, but he couldn't force her to be with him as it would not be right for her. So he decided it was maybe best just to be alone for some time. But so he ended up with it at the park, just sitting down, just spending time by himself, just sitting there. Even he wanted to be with Twilight, but he decided maybe it wasn't worth it try to maintain the relationship. So what had happened next though? What happened? He tried to maybe move on, but to him it wasn't even so easily. He tried to make sure that he's trying to maybe find someone else to be with. Even his love for any for anyone seems to be almost impossible. For the rest of summer, he spent almost nothing. He spent all his summer just by himself or with Flash or perhaps with his older sister, Gloriosa Daisy. When she found out, she was really surprised. She had expected that he would be heartbroken, but he was. But she didn't expect that he would be so much into this relationship with her. She will talk to Twilight, and she wasn't even mad at her. She just wanted to more some details why this did happen. And when she had found out that Twilight also had found out Flash was dating Sunset, she was really devastated about that. So maybe she thought Gloria Daisy, when she found out that Twilight knew about Flash, she thought maybe that Twilight would go back to her brother. But never happened. So in fact, Gloria Daisy had thought maybe it was time to try to help Timber to move on. As the time passed though, just only a few weeks before the summer break was over, Timber Sprout was just walking around town and then ended up sitting at the park, as he usually do. But then he noticed a girl. She was beautiful, and she was just sitting there by herself reading a book, and he slowly walked up to her, asked if he could sit down, and she looked up, and smiled and said, "Yeah, you can sit down." And she moved a little bit so that he could sort of get some light. And then he noticed the book which he was reading. I was actually a brand new book, the most recent that came out. So he asked her about the book, like if she liked it, if it was interesting. And she said, "Yeah." And she is halfway through the book when she said, "During the book series is amazing. It's my favorite." Oh, well, I can say that I actually have been reading the series myself many times now, and actually some of my friends were actually in the latest movie about about Daring Do. And she looked up and said, "Wait, your friends were in the latest movie? I didn't know that." Yeah, they were in the background characters. By the way, my name is Timber Spruce. Well, my name is Lexia Wolfsoul. Lexia, that's a pretty name. Are you in Newtown? No, actually, I've been living here all my life. I'm attending at Cantlot High School. So, you're in high school? Yeah. Is something wrong with that? Yes. No, it just some of my friends actually goes to that particular school. Oh, who would that be? Sunset Shimmer, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Pinkie Pie. Wait, they are your friends? Yeah, you know them? And she just nodded and said that she did. And from that moment, they start talking about almost anything, like about the Daring Do book series and almost anything. But before she left, he asked her if she maybe wanted maybe see some other time, maybe go to have something to eat or talk more about the book series or something. She did like that and even gave him her phone number, and that was like a gain of victory. But he didn't act like he was so excited about it. He just said thanks and that he would call her sometimes later on. And a few days later, when Timber was out for a walk, he ran into Rarity and Pinky. They were a little bit surprised that he seems to be happy. So they asked if something has happened recently, but he said that actually he had run into a girl by the name Lexia Wolfsoul. Pinky said that she know her. She's a friend of hers who goes to the same school as them. Rarity said the same, and that, but she isn't much of a talker. And according to Pinky, even though Lexia has many friends, sometimes she just sits by herself in the cafeteria or outside school reading a book or something. But she spends a lot of time with friends, but sometimes she prefers to be alone. Nothing is wrong with that. So, when school started again, Timber, he started working at this local store, food store in town, and from time to time though, he texts or calls Alexia. They most random talk about something else, but then after almost been talking on the phone and meeting up for some time to time for about almost 2 months, Flash had made him encouraged enough to ask her out. Even he was expecting that she would say said no, that she would not be interested in dating him. But turns out that she said yes, and he decided to take her to the movies. So, at the movies though, he was barely surprised that she had decided maybe to choose a horror movie. She was much into horror movies, scary movies, or any kind. That surprised though, even though horror movies was probably one of his favorites. But both of them actually had this amazing time. They enjoyed it, and even afterwards, he asked her if she was hungry, and she said yes. So they went to this local burger place nearby. There they talked about the movie and something else. and he asked her if she had a good time. And she smiled and said, yeah, she actually had this amazing time. She haven't had this good time in quite some time. Then, before they left the diner, he asked her if she maybe want to go out maybe some other time. And she said yes. So, he drove her home, and for the next couple of days that happened, they talked on the phone. But then, she mentioned that her mother had asked if he wanted to come over for dinner. And he didn't know what the answer, so he said yes. When he came over, the same Friday, he was nervous. This was actually the very first time that Timber would actually meet her family. Turns out that she was the only child of her family. Her father passed away only about 2 months before she was born, so she never knew him. So she actually had this amazing, even that her mother and her themselves had a bit rough life earlier when she was little. But over years, she get it better. Even Lexia's mother was very happy to see that her daughter had found someone to be with, since Timber was actually her very first boyfriend ever. But she even mentioned that once that Lexia once had another boyfriend, or at least a boy interested in. But this particular boy had called her that he wanted to go out with her, and when she was ready and was waiting for him to pick her up, he never showed up. And later, when she went in school, that this boy actually had lied to her that all of this was just a prank. He would never even intended to go with her, and that made her heart shattered. Especially this boy that she had a crush on. That made her feel looks like an idiot. But luckily though that she had a friend's support, and they all shouted at him, "If you did that to another girl again, we make sure that you will never be able to prank anyone." Even their threats were empty ones, but he took it seriously. So after that he apologized, but she refused to even talk to him afterwards, which Timber would have stood. But after time, even though that Timber had asked her out, she was expecting that he would never show up. Because when he picked her up on the first date they had, she was waiting with her mother in the hallway through the front door. She was wearing this blue dress, and she was waiting for him to show up. But since what happened the first time, but instead, before they was gone, they thought maybe that he wouldn't show up. They heard a knock on the door. When they opened, he was standing there, and he smiled and asked if she was ready. And actually, that was the first time when he met her mother. Well, kind of the first time. They just small talked before they left. But first, the official first meeting, when he showed up at her place for dinner. Even her mother was just happy, but even she was a bit cautious about Timber. But learning that he was once counselor of the Everfree camp, and that he worked as a lifeguard, made her to realize this boy could have been the one that her daughter Lexia had been waiting for. And the rest of the time that when they would see each other, everything went so good between them. Timber showed her a lot of love, always been there when she had a rough time, if she had failed some test, or if she felt sick or something. He always called her or texted her saying that he loves her and wished that she would be better soon. even sent her flowers from time, and that made her even happier. Even after all this time they'd been together, Flash had told Timber that he was happy for him. But what happened to Twilight after all this? Well, it turns out that she started dating another guy from school, Valhall, Thunder Bass. Thunder Bass was one of the team band members from Flash Band, so they actually had some amazing time together. Even though Flash and Twilight remain as good friends, and Twilight and Timber still remain as good friends, even their awkward breakup, but after some time they get back together as friends, which they both agree with. Because they both agree that even they weren't dating anymore, they shouldn't be, meaning they shouldn't be friends. So, after almost about 2 years of being dating, Timber took with Lexia to the movies and later for dinner, and since she had never been in this long term before, she was just nervous how things would react or end up with. She had almost dreams were nightmares, where Timber telling her that they are over and that he moves on but to be with another girl. But he never did that. Every time when she told him about his nightmares, she told him, "Don't worry, I would never do that to you. You really fill my heart with so much light and bright, and I have never been this happy to be with you, Lexia." And even that, those words means a lot to her. And after she finished high school, she decided maybe that she wanted to go to high school to college. But since sadly that she didn't have enough money for to go to college, but luckily though, there were a community college in town which were able to afford to go to. So she went to that college, and when she could finish that, she had this better opportunity to start working. So she applied for part-time work as in the mall, and it turns out she actually started working with Sunset at the sushi bar. And Sunset and Lexia were actually so good friends, and it was actually Sunset who had been telling the boss of the sushi bar if she can maybe hire a friend of hers. And he also agreed, since Sunset has been this amazing employee and that she had been just promoted to assistant manager, she hired a friend. So that made them both more closer as friends. After that, Timber and Lexi have been dating for about almost 5 years and been living together for the past 2 years. He decided maybe it was time to ask her the big question. So he actually took her to the park when they first met. They sat down, just small talked about things, and then he proposed to her, and she said yes immediately. When they told about their families, Timber's sister, Galosia Daisy, she was happy for her brother. Even Lexi's mother could not have been happier. And they decided to have a wedding on the summer, which were about almost a few months away, since it was only spring when they first met. Even this particular time, though, sorry, they were met first summer. Sorry. But the first during this time, they planned the wedding right away. Even they had asked Rarity for help. And Timber had even asked Flash to be his best man, and Lexia, she had asked Fluttershy to be her bridesmaid since they were very good friends. And even after this wedding happened, they decided to maybe rent a cabin outside town for about a week. They had this amazing time. Barbecued, swimming in the lake, just having a great time. And after being married for about 2 years. Timber and Lexia had 2 daughters, twins. And that was the first time that ever happened in either families. But when the twins were about 5 years old, they had a boy. Both Timber and Lexia could not have been happier to be with the one they loved the most. If they never had met in the park in the first place, they probably would never have met or never been gone on a date and later been married and have this amazing family together. Missing the part where if they never met, both of them would never been have felt this great happiness or joy. So that's how Timber Spruce and Lexia Wolfsoul found a true love, got a big family. The end.